In the heart of Guinea, in the tranquil village of Farana, a legend was born. His name is Ahmed Sékou Touré, a foremost nationalist, anti-imperialist leader, trade unionist, pan-Africanist, revolutionary, and an African statesman born on January 9, 1922. Sékou Touré was born to a modest Malinke peasant family. With Alpha Touré and Aminata Fadiga as his parents, young Sékou was destined for greatness. His lineage steeped in the valiant history of resistance against French colonialism. This heritage will profoundly shape the revolutionary he was to become. Sékou's early education began at the local Quranic school, later continuing at the regional school of Kisidougou, but his independent spirit emerged early. In 1938, he was expelled for leading a hunger strike. Undeterred, he pursued knowledge through correspondence courses, taking on various jobs to sustain himself. By 1940, a new path unfolded as he joined Compagnie du Niger Français, a Unilever subsidiary, as a clerk. Here, the seeds of his future as a trade unionist were sown. A year later, as a postal clerk in the colonial civil service, Sékou Touré made his first indelible mark, organizing postal workers into a formidable union. He led them to an unprecedented 76-day strike, the first successful one in French West Africa, signaling his prowess as a constructive agitator. The year 1945 saw him rise to the position of Secretary General of Union Syndicale des Travailleurs des Postes et Télécommunications de Guinée, Guinea's Postal Workers Union. This role marked a turning point in his commitment to organized labor. Shortly thereafter, he co-founded Fédération des Syndicats de Travailleurs de Guinée, translated as Federation of Workers' Unions of Guinea, becoming its vice president. Through these positions, Touré dedicated himself tirelessly to defending workers' rights and openly challenged French colonial authority through strikes and protests. In October 1946, Sékou Touré's political life began when he participated in the founding Congress of Rassemblement Démocratique Africain, the African Democratic Rally in Bamako, alongside Félix Houphouët-Boigny of La Côte d'Ivoire, aiming to unify French West and Equatorial African territories in their struggle for political autonomy. Though not a co-founder, Touré swiftly aligned himself with the RDA's pan-Africanist and anti-colonial vision, rising through its ranks as a fierce advocate for labor rights and national sovereignty. In 1952, he became Secretary General of Parti Démocratique de Guinée, translated as the Democratic Party of Guinea, the RDA's Guinean affiliate, which passionately championed Guinea's independence and broader African liberation. Sékou Touré's leadership was a vibrant campaign against French colonial rule. As a master orator, he skillfully mobilized mass support, uniting Guinea's diverse ethnic groups to forge a powerful nationalist movement. In 1951, he was elected to the French National Assembly but was unjustly denied his seat. Again, in 1954, he was re-elected and barred. It wasn't until his election as mayor of Conakry in 1955 that he finally took his rightful place in the assembly. By the end of 1957, he was elected vice president of the Executive Council of Guinea. The climax of Sékou Touré's defiance arrived in 1958. French President Charles de Gaulle offered African territories a choice: join a new federal community or gain independence. Sékou Touré's iconic words, "Nous préférons la liberté dans la pauvreté à la richesse dans l'esclavage," translated as, "We prefer poverty and freedom to riches in slavery," resonated deeply with the Guinean people. Their overwhelming vote for independence on September 28, 1958, sent ripples across the continent, inspiring other African colonies to demand their freedom. On October 2, 1958, Guinea proudly became the first independent French-speaking nation in Africa, with Sékou Touré at its helm as president. The French retaliated harshly, withdrawing all their professionals and civil servants, and even dismantling transportable equipment. Facing economic collapse, Touré sought and accepted aid from both the communist bloc and Western nations. As president, Sékou Touré embarked on an ambitious journey to transform Guinea into a socialist state, envisioning an African socialism rooted in self-reliance, unity, and a rejection of neo-colonialism. In education, Sékou Touré prioritized expanding access and indigenizing the curriculum, deliberately moving away from French colonial models. These reforms led to increased enrollment, particularly in rural areas, and spurred creation of educational materials that reflected Guinea's rich history, culture, and values. He championed economic self-reliance, nationalizing key industries and promoting local production. He established state-led development plans, though results were mixed due to limited resources and international isolation. Sékou Touré's influence transcended Guinea's borders. He forged powerful alliances with other African leaders, advocating for continental liberation and integration. His leadership was instrumental in the formation of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1963, where he served as its first Secretary General. He provided sanctuary and aid to liberation movements in Angola, Mozambique, and South Africa, actively supporting their fight against colonial oppression. His proposal for the Guinea-Ghana-Mali Union even predated the concept of the African Union. Yet, Sékou Touré's presidency was not without its shadows. His administration faced criticism for authoritarian tendencies, including the suppression of dissent, political imprisonment, and human rights abuses. While state control over the economy initially asserted national sovereignty, it eventually led to inefficiencies, corruption, and economic decline. Despite these controversies, Ahmed Sékou Touré remains a towering figure in African history. His unwavering resistance against colonial oppression, his fervent pan-Africanism, and his relentless pursuit of a sovereign nation against immense odds solidify his legacy as a visionary leader and a symbol of African defiance. On March 26, 1984, after suffering a stroke in Saudi Arabia and being flown to Cleveland, Ohio, for emergency heart surgery, Ahmed Sékou Touré, at the age of 62, passed away. Though his life ended, his indomitable spirit and his contributions to African liberation continue to resonate, echoing through the annals of history.